Hi, I'm the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson III, the chaplain for spiritual care here at Christian Hospital Northeast, the palliative care chaplain here at Christian Hospital Northeast. I am so glad and so thankful to be able to share with you with these morning meditations. They are a blessing to be able to share with you, and I hope that you are inspired and encouraged by them. Often, as we sit and meditate on what to share with you, we are praying about your circumstances, your situations, and what it is that you're facing each week and each day. And we're aware that life sometimes comes at us so fast that we don't have time to think or to meditate or to recollect ourselves or to collect ourselves, rather, to get ready for what it is that we're facing. But we want you to know you're not doing it alone, that you're not by yourself. And as much as we take this journey together, we are strengthened by each other's stories, by each other's faith, by each other's prayers, and yes, even by each other's smiles along the way. So thank you for joining us for our Monday morning meditations that come out on Monday, but some of you get a chance to enjoy them at different times during the week. Share them, spread them along, ask others if they've heard about it, because what we really want is to offer these words of encouragement. And please give us your feedback because we really need that. Now, on to our morning meditation. Today's morning meditation is entitled Digging Our Own Wells. Digging Our Own Wells. Perhaps you're wondering where I came with this, but what I've learned is that along the way, many of us have found ourselves on our journey, on the roads that we travel, only to discover those roads sometimes are impeded or blocked by one thing or another. And as we are trying to do the right things, do things the right way, we discover it's harder to try to do it that way sometimes than not, more often than not. And many of us find ourselves discouraged. We're waiting for someone to clear the way, to open the door, to make things right, to offer us the opportunity that we so richly deserve. And all of that is true. But sometimes I think that for us to really engage what it is that we're called to be and what we should be doing in the world, we are called to really dig our own wells. There's a biblical story, and I won't go too deep into it, but it's a biblical story about Isaac. Isaac is the son of Abraham, and Isaac has found himself now. His father, Abraham, has gone, his mother has died, and now he's trying to make his journey in life on his own. And there he is in this place among a different people. There's a king by the name of Abimelech who befriends him, but now sees his prosperity and his growth. And suddenly jealousy arrives, which it happens for most of us. Whenever you're on your way, whenever a door opens, whenever opportunities avail themselves to you, you might discover the tension among others who may not be so fortunate to have the sun shining on them on that day, or the way being made for them, or the door being opened for them. And so you might find yourself feeling like Isaac, where there is some tension, some jealousy. And so it is in this story. You'll find it somewhere in the book of Genesis earlier on, and I'll share that with you before we close out here. But it is really interesting that Isaac starts to revisit the wells that his father had built. All the places that his father had taken the time and laid the foundation and laid the tracks for him to be able to travel. And there he would go and try to dig these wells, only to find that those wells were disputed by those who would put themselves in the position as opposition. And so it is. He moves from one place, leaves that well, and moves to another, and starts to dig into that well, another that his father had built, and the people that came before him had built, or just dug, rather, I should say, only to discover that there was a direct attempt to fill the holes with dirt, even though they didn't belong to them, so that he could not use them. Many of us feel that way in our lives. We feel like as much as we are revisiting the places where our parents had told us this is the way to go, these are the doors that open. For many of us who happen to struggle in life, we are following the steps of those who've gone before us, only to discover that those steps for trying to do right and to be meaningful participants in our society often end with those doors being closed. And it seems as if we are struggling along the way. And I think, my friends, that is the meaning of this Lenten season. For those of us who are celebrating the Lenten season as the Christian season here of Lent, causes us to be challenged by external forces that are not meant to destroy us necessarily, but to cause us to dig deep within. And so that we have to be able to dig our own wells, to discover our own joy, to discover our own peace, and not sit around expecting others to make us happy or open the doors or create the opportunities that we need. We are called upon to dig our own wells. And so in the story, so does Isaac. After going from one place to another, to another, to another, he finally comes to a place where he digs his own well, nothing that his predecessors had dug before, nothing that his ancestors had done before, nothing that anyone could dispute, but he dug his own well in a place, and he named that place Rehoboth. In other words, a space for me. And I'm sure that many of us have found ourselves trying to figure out how to navigate life, how to be able to do the other things. But we are having recordings about this is the way you should do it, and this is where you should be, and this is how it should happen. Why not give yourself an opportunity to try something new? Dig your own wells that nourish your own souls and then refresh your own spirit. I asked the question of myself as I was preparing for this, well, why would I not dig a new well? Well, digging a new well is not just like that. It doesn't just come up and say, I think I'm going to do something like that. We are trained, we are fashioned, we are conditioned to be successful in the places where we've been. And sometimes digging new wells in new places, in new environments, is a scary thing. It really is. Not about being lazy, not about not having the expertise, but sometimes it's really scary. And what's scary, the most scary thing, is that we wonder whether or not it's all worth it. But let me say this to you. When you dig your own well, you'll discover that you're not dependent on anyone else to make you happy in your own soul. You'll discover that you can get happy and be glad and have joy all by yourself. And as you remember in the previous week, I talked about your happiness doesn't come from your happenings. It sometimes can. And when those happenings aren't happening the way we want them to happen, then our happiness evades us. But I want to share something more important, that when you dig your own well, you discover that the Creator who loves you more than life has already supplied all that you need to be nourished. And sometimes what mom did, or what dad did, or what a great aunt did, or a grandfather, or a grandmother, or what those around us are doing in order to nourish themselves is not the place where we should be. Sometimes it's absolutely perfect when it's our own, when you create it and you have an authentic, organic life that is nobody else's but yours. This past weekend, as I am an avid basketball fan, and yes, I am a Duke University alum. And there we were celebrating Coach Mike Krzyzewski as he was preparing for his last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. He's getting ready to retire and to move on with the next part of his life. But for many of us, we really appreciated and still do appreciate his presence, his leadership, his personality, his charisma, everything that's built a great basketball program and a work ethic for all Duke students who've ever been there. But what I discovered is that the new students coming along found themselves trying to live in the footsteps of a legacy that was not their own. And the team lost horribly to our arch rivals, the University of North Carolina. Well, they beat us pretty bad, but just wait, Tar Heel fans, we're coming back for you. Just the same, I discovered something about my own life, is that as much as we celebrate the lives and the journey of those who've gone before us, parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, those who had meanings, mentors, and those who've given us advice in life, all of them have meant something, and they should be venerated. They should be acknowledged. They deserve it. However, as we live our lives, we can't live our lives for them. We can't live our lives in memorial or in memoriam. We have to live our lives for now and for those who shall come after us. In other words, it is great to live our lives digging old wells and reminiscing and thinking of the moments in which we've shared and those who have bequeathed those great and wonderful things to us. Don't ever lose them, embrace them, and love them. However, we can't live backwards into those moments. We have to live for now and dig wells for tomorrow. You see, wells did nourish Isaac. They kept them for a while. In fact, he became wealthy and rich because of the wells that his father Abraham had dug. But at some point, those wells were not going to be enough. And he had to dig new wells, not just for himself, but for those who shall come after us. As I contemplate what's happening in our world and what's going on even in this country for our great democracy, one of the concerns I have is whether or not we are living, planting seeds for a future generation, or are we so caught up in consuming and thinking that we have not gathered all that the previous generation owed us, that we forget that it is our responsibility to plant seeds that will grow into trees or dig wells that will nourish and care for a generation that we perhaps may never see. That's the way it is during Lenten season. And as a Christian minister, I am reminded that I'm digging my own wells, dealing with the circumstances, not because I'm not all right today, but because I want to be a blessing tomorrow. How about you? How about you? So dig your own wells. Leave us your feedback. Share with us what it is that you think about these messages. But I want to say one thing, and I always share it with you. I hope that you take it to heart. And as you move throughout your day and all the people that you encounter, say it to yourself first and to others next, that you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are irreplaceable. Share that and have a great day, and indeed have a great week.